Oh, hey there. Don't mind me. Just making a protein shake. You want one? You're probably thinking, why are people so obsessed with
protein?
Drinking protein shakes all the time, eating enormous amounts of Greek yogurt, and constantly talking about hitting their protein goals. Well, much like me, when I first started actually caring about my nutrition and getting healthy, you're probably wondering, what's all the hubbub, Buff? So today I shall leave you with no more excuses to not eat enough protein and no more reason to hate on protein. Because I'm going to break down what protein is, why we need it, what foods are the best source of it, and how much each of us need. As always, I will tie it back to the Word of God. Specifically, does God command us to eat meat? If so, what kind of meat does he say is good for us, and what kind does he say is not so good? I am CoachBri T, an ISSA certified personal trainer and precision nutrition certified level 1 nutrition coach, but more importantly, I am a follower of Jesus and a child of the Most High God. And in case you didn't know, you're watching Holy Health, episode 14. Do me a favor real quick, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, ring that bell notification, and if you feel like you got something to say, go ahead and put it down in the comments right now. Let's get into it. What is protein? Well, scientifically speaking, a complex organic molecule made up of amino acids. They are essential for the structure, function, and regulation of the body's tissues and organs. They are also involved in many other critical bodily processes, including catalyzing metabolic reactions, DNA replication, and responding to stimuli. A lot of big fancy words. Now, what are amino acids? They are literally defined as the building blocks of protein. I know, so helpful. Digging a little further, they are made of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. I know. Still, so helpful. Thanks, Google. Get out of here. To be honest, it is way more helpful to look at what protein does for us as opposed to what it is. So, let's take a look. Here are 8 things that protein does for us. Number 1, helps us to build muscle, which muscle helps us fight off chronic diseases such as diabetes, even cancers. Muscle also helps us to age like butter. Mostly, we can live longer, we decrease the chance we will need help getting around as we age, and we will be able to spend our old age playing with our grandkids as if we were the same age as our grandkids. Maybe not so much the same age, but, still able to keep up with them. Number 2, protein helps us regulate our hunger hormone. So, fun fact about protein, it burns more calories to digest than any other food that you eat. But it also fills you up super fast because your body is more satiated and satisfied. So I dare you to eat as many servings of ground beef in one sitting as you do potato chips. You can't. You just can't. Sorry. Number 3, protein helps modulate cortisol levels. And what is cortisol? It is your stress hormone, basically. It helps your body to respond to all kinds of stress appropriately. Cortisol has an impact on your blood sugar, blood pressure, immune system, metabolism, inflammation, mood, and cognitive function. So how does protein help with that? Well, it stimulates a meal-induced cortisol release, and in turn improves your immune system response, stabilizes your blood sugar levels, and preserves your muscles. What? There's muscles again. All right, number 4. You're going to hear these 2 words a lot, building blocks, because protein is a building block for a lot. But One of the things it is a building block for is our hormones, which we keep talking about those too. Specifically, our peptide hormones, which help us with homeostasis, or in normal, not sciencey people terms, let's just say protein helps our body's hormones do their job to keep our internal environment as stable as possible despite what is happening on the outside of our bodies. Number 5, protein helps balance our blood sugar. Simplest explanation, protein slows down the digestion of glucose, aka sugar, carbohydrates, stuff like that, preventing sharp spikes in your blood sugar levels after a meal. Blood sugar regulation is huge for heart health and brain health. So when you're eating your meals, eat your protein before you eat your carbs or your sugary stuff, okay? Also, just stop eating sugar. Get alternative sweeteners that are natural, like coconut sugar is great. Even monk fruit is fine. Just something not cane sugar would suffice. Honey, oh my gosh, honey is delicious. Anyway, moving on, I digress. Number 6, protein supports sleep and melatonin. Melatonin, another hormone that protein is a building block for. And melatonin is one of those hormones that helps us sleep at night, unlike scrolling through TikTok. Number 7, protein promotes healthy aging. And we kind of already talked about this. It helps build and maintain muscle mass and functionality, especially as you age. So you don't have to just lie down and accept that one day you'll struggle to get out of your rocking chair just like grandpa used to, or grandma, or mom and dad, wherever you're at in your life stages. You don't got to accept that. You can actually counter that as much as possible with eating enough protein for your body and building muscle and maintaining your muscle mass as you age. Last but not least, number 8, protein helps strengthen hair, skin, and nails. Don't look at my nails. I've been naughty and biting them. Yet again, protein is the building block for these tissues. So when you eat enough protein, you get nice, luscious hair, smooth and strong skin, and natural nails that look too good to be real. In summary, protein is basically the building block for everything our bodies need to function and thrive. So why so anti-protein, bruh? So now we know what protein is and why we need it. So how much do we need and how do we get it? Well, this is my simplest set of protein guidelines because if you're like me, math doesn't always like to math in my brain. If you are trying to build muscle, eat your body weight in grams of protein. What I don't mean by that is if you weigh 160 pounds, you eat 160 pounds of protein. And I don't mean if you weigh 160 pounds, convert that to grams and then eat that many grams. No. That's not at all what I mean. Also, that can be either unbeneficial or way too dangerous. Anyway, what I do mean is if you weigh 160 pounds, you're going to eat 160 grams of protein or more if you're trying to build muscle. And that's every single day. That's your daily protein goal, which is hard to do, but it is doable. If you are trying to just maintain your muscle mass, I'd say either your body weight or your body weight minus 10 to 20 grams. So if you weigh like 160 pounds, you would eat 140 to 150 grams of protein every day. If you are new to this and you don't even get close to 100 grams of protein in a single day, start by getting 100 grams of protein every day consistently for 2 to 4 weeks, and then increase that by like 5 to 10 grams a day every 2 weeks. So going up by 5 to 10 gram increments every 2 weeks until you hit your body weight or that 10 to 20 grams less than your body weight. And you're probably thinking, how on earth do I even know how much protein I'm getting or eat right now? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it may be time for you to invest in a food scale and learn how to read a food label. First things first, let's understand the difference between a protein, carb, and fat by looking at that food label. Let's take a look at something simple to start. Protein powder. If you look at these nutrition facts, you'll notice that the protein content is higher than the carb content and fat content, making it primarily a protein source. Moving on to something popularly labeled as a protein source on social media, almonds, you'll notice here that while it does have protein content, its fat content is actually higher, making it primarily a source of fat. Healthy fat, yes, but it is a fat, not a protein. Does it have a decent amount of protein in it that it kind of gives you that double benefit? Absolutely, but you still have to be careful. Now, let's take a look at these protein bites. These are deceptively labeled a protein on the front, but if you flip it over to the back, its carb content is way higher than its protein or fat content. Even its sugar content is insanely high, making this primarily a source of carbohydrates. So do not be deceived. Read the food labels. I see you checking out my fit. That's right. Jesus is king. And you can tell the world that Jesus is king too, inside and outside of the gym, by going to HolStrength.com and using code CoachBri for 10% off your order of fitness apparel and streetwear that are faith-based, and spread the good news of the gospel everywhere you go. Again, that's HolStrength.com using code CoachBri to get 10% off your order. All right, so now we know how to read a food label. Where does the scale come in? Well, in order to get the proper serving size of your protein source and know that you're getting the amount of protein the package says per serving, weighing out your protein source is huge. After a while, you'll kind of know and won't need to weigh as much, but this helps us just see how much we're actually getting. And you'll notice at the top of every food label, it tells you the serving size. Sometimes it's in grams, sometimes it's in ounces. Do keep in mind that when weighing your meat out, or most things that have like a raw weight versus a cooked weight, or something that starts raw and you cook it, make sure that it is in its raw form when you initially weigh it. So a serving size of like beef or chicken is usually like 4 ounces raw. And that's going to change when you cook it, and it'll be less once it's cooked. I know it's weird, but that's just how it works. You can do 6 ounces raw or 8 ounces raw per meal to get more protein too. So if you're really trying to hit that high protein goal, just extra ounces of meat. Easiest thing you can do. So that being said, let's take a look at an example. So as you can see here, I am weighing out my yogurt according to the amount in one serving labeled on the back, which is 170 grams. This helps me get the 16 grams of protein that come in that serving. Now for meat, we meal prep, so the easiest way to do this is to determine how many meals we want to make and then how many ounces of meat we want per meal. So it requires a little bit of math. So for instance, say we want 12 meals and 4 ounces of meat each, which 12 times 4 is 48. So that's 48 ounces total that we need. Now, a pound has 16 ounces in it, so we divide that by 16, and that gives us, so 48 divided by 16, that gives us 3 pounds of meat is what we need. So we go to the butcher and we ask for 3 pounds of meat. After we cook it all up, and since the raw weight is heavier than the cooked weight, we weigh the entire amount of what we cooked, and then we'll divide that by 12. So then we know how much we need, how many ounces of meat cooked we need in each meal, getting us as close to that protein content in that 4-ounce serving as possible and getting you closer to your protein goals. A lot of math, which is why my human calculator of a husband so lovingly does that math for me.
Okay, all that sounds great, but just give me a list of good protein sources and I will be on my way to success.
You got it, dude. Here is a list of my favorite proteins. So, starting with my absolute favorite, red meat. All kinds, like steak, ground beef, lamb, beef brisket, beef short ribs, beef breakfast sausage, the works. All right, anything red meat, I'm all for. Make sure it's 100% grass-fed and grass-finished. Chicken, breast, thighs, wings, drumsticks. That's right, you can still have chicken wings. Preferably bake them yourself. Season them and bake them yourself at home. So get them raw, get them unseasoned, and do your magic at home. They are 10 times better at home than they are covered in some random nasty sauce at a restaurant. Also, make sure those chickens are pasture raised and that chicken is air chilled, okay? They put chlorine in all the other ones, and all that liquid that's coming out of that chicken 99.9% of the time is filled with chlorine. So get the air chilled and not the water chilled. And pasture raised. Dairies. Now, most dairy is a fat source. Greek yogurt, you can get it where the fat content is lower than the protein content. But most dairy tends to have a high amount of protein in it, so you get a lot of bang for your buck. Even though it's not primarily protein, you still get that protein booster. So with my breakfast, I eat my eggs, I have my Greek yogurt. Eggs are one of those things that falls under this category of dairies where it's actually a primary fat source, but it has a high protein content in it. So you can eat eggs, Greek yogurt, which is a protein source, and breakfast sausage, protein source, has fat in it too. And then add raw milk, cheese in the eggs, whatever, raw cheese, raw cheddar cheese. It's really delicious. Actually, really, 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 really good. Way better than the other stuff. Anyway, raw cheese, raw milk gives you a little extra protein boost with your breakfast every morning. And yum! High protein, high fat breakfast. Perfect. I don't know why I'm moving my hands like I think I'm Gordon Ramsay or something. I think we watch way too much like MasterChef. Stop. I can't stop. Anyway, so these things is like eggs, raw milk, raw cheese. Yum, delicious. Moving on. Snacks. Just ingredients or Flav City protein powder. Either add it to your yogurt or you can drink it as a protein shake or even add it to a fruit smoothie. Archer or Paleo Valley beef sticks are amazing. But one thing you do need to be careful with the snacks is those things called protein bars. Like I showed you the protein bites earlier that were really carb bites. Anything that says protein on the front of the package, don't trust it. They're usually loaded with carbs and sugar and only have a handful of protein in comparison. So definitely flip it over on the back and just make sure, read those ingredients too. Now, what does the Bible say about protein? I thought Adam and Eve were created in a garden and were told they could eat from the garden and be best friends with the animals. Not eat the animals. Eat the plants, don't eat the animals. You would be correct. However, after the flood, God commands / gives Noah and his family the animals to eat. You can find this in Genesis 9, but there's always a but. Not all animals are meant for eating. You may have noticed my list above doesn't include pork. So no bacon, no pork chops, no pork ribs, and this is why. In Leviticus 11, God speaks to Moses and Aaron and tells them that there are certain animals that shouldn't be eaten due to uncleanliness. Now, in my opinion, if God says something is unclean to eat, I'm going to listen. Even under the new covenant in Christ, I'm still going to take this into consideration. I'm not going to hold it as law. I'm using it more as a guideline because it's probably not so good for our health if it's unclean. So I'm going to avoid it. But if I accidentally eat pork or I don't have a choice other than pork, then it's not like I now have to go through a purification ceremony. Like I said, it's just a good guideline to follow. Anyway, a brief summary of what Leviticus 11 tells us to eat and not to eat. Land animal edition, because there's also sea animals and air animals, and it's just a lot. But I will give you a breakdown of the land animals, and you can go check out the others for yourself in Leviticus 11. But basically, for land animals, anything that has split hooves and chews the cud is fair game. Anything that has one but not the other, that's what we avoid. Now, you have to understand what split hooves and chewing the cud is to be able to know the difference. So here's a quick breakdown. And I grew up on a farm, so I'm an expert in this, okay? Expert. Just kidding. I'm not really an expert. I just know a few animals. Hooves equal feet for like horses, cows, pigs, sheep, yada, yada, yada. Horses do not have split hoof. They have like one solid hoof, like the picture shows here. Cows have split hoofs, like the picture shows here. So they have like this little split, as you can see. Pigs also have split hoofs, and so do sheep, which we call lamb when it is in meat form. Now, cud is kind of gross. It equals basically regurgitating and chewing it. Basically, King Neptune eating SpongeBob's one Krabby Patty over and over and over again.
I think I'd like to try it a second time.
Horses do this, cows do this, sheep do this, and pigs do not. So, list of edible, cow, lamb. List of inedible, horses, pigs, just based on what I explained above. Of course, there's more than that on the list. Now, why cow and lamb? Well, they both have split hooves. They both chew the cud. Horses chew the cud, do not have split hooves. Pigs have split hooves, but do not chew the cud. Get it? Got it? Good. Now, like I mentioned, it even goes deep into the type of fish and birds that are edible and not, but go check out Leviticus 11 for yourself, because this video is getting too long. But to boil it down, basically, God has made all the creatures of the land, sea, and air, and has made some that are really beneficial for us to consume, and some that are not so much beneficial. Possibly because of the corruption from the curse of sin, or other reasons. There isn't really a straightforward explanation as to why that I have personally found. If you have found an explanation, please feel free to leave a comment explaining the whole situation down below. But at the end of the day, I trust God and his divine design and his infallible and authoritative word. I do have to say that it is clear to me that cows are where it is at, and Heart and Soil, whom does not sponsor this channel, but I'm going to give them their flowers anyway, understands that fact. I have endometriosis and had hypothyroidism thanks to their Her package, which is a female fertility supplement. I've been able to get my endometriosis symptoms under control to where I don't have to take painkillers anymore. And as for my hypothyroidism that I had, well, it only took me a matter of a few months taking their thyroid stack, which includes a gut and digestion supplement, a beef organ supplement, and a fire starter supplement, in order for me to get my TSH levels, which are an indicator of thyroid health, down from being too high back into the normal range. So yeah, of course I'm going to give them their flowers. These supplements are geniusly made up of different combinations of 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef organs for all the many different needs that we have, whether that's female or male fertility, thyroid health, digestive health, prenatal health, and so much more. The list goes on and on. There is a link in the description below for 20% off your order. That is all I have for you today. Once again, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a lovely comment below, ring that bell notification so you can stay up to date on all things faith, fitness, and food. See you next time when I break down carbohydrates. Fun one. Grace and peace, y'all.